How you doing there, folks? Ryan Reynolds, Baters here with another Top 10. Today we're going to look at the top 10 rare weapons in Fallout 76. Some of these weapons will require you to complete secret missions in the game, while others will require you to jerk off a giant jelly monster named Squishy Bob. I'm just kidding about the second one. Remember, if you like this video, to savagely beat that like button, because likes are crack to YouTubers, and if I don't get my fix, I'm gonna freak out! Anyways, go ahead and let a Bulbasaur loose in your butthole, and let's get to average baiting, baby! At number 10, we've got the chainsaw. Now, the chainsaw is a game changer, not just in Fallout 76, but also in real life. Just think, before the invention of the chainsaw, serial killers were stuck chasing sexy co-eds with garden variety kitchen appliances, like knives and cleavers, and sometimes the odd spork. You just aren't gonna get any respect as a mass murdering psycho freak running at somebody with ambiguous cutlery. But thanks to John Chainsaw, or whoever the f*** invented it, the world for ugly lunatics was changed seemingly overnight. Put it this way, watching Jessica Biel her shorts while her Abercrombie and Fitch model friends ran around screaming wouldn't have been nearly as entertaining if Leatherface was chasing them with Grandma's fine china. So thank you, John Chainsaw. Thank you. The chainsaw in Fallout 76 is both unique and rare, in that it can only be found in 3 different locations around the map, and it isn't part of the level loot, meaning you won't get it from dead enemies. Now, one of these bad boys is located in the Ranger District office barn, on a cabinet opposite a row of cages. Another may be found at the Mountainside Bed and Breakfast in the basement, and one more can possibly be found in Clarksburg, on the top floor of the hardware store on a shelf above a safe. While it does relatively low damage, when repaired to 200%, it does several times its normal damage. It only has a couple modifications, including a couple bars and a flamer scope. Do know that if you modify it to have the flamer scope, you can't modify it back to the standard version. You're stuck with it that way. Just like when you adopt a child, you can't give it back, no matter how shitty it is. Now, this is a great weapon that's sure to strike terror in the eyes of any sexy college kids you swing it at, or your money back. I rate this weapon 1 parrot that's in love with half a watermelon. I'll never leave you again. Not ever. At number 9, we've got the Alien Blaster. Aliens are a major part of the Fallout universe, and Fallout 76 is no different, with multiple nods to these extraterrestrial perverts. Quick question though. Why are aliens big on the whole butt probe thing anyways? I mean, that seems kind of primitive for super advanced life forms, don't you think? It just makes me think that someone's stupid alien nephew was allowed in on the universe exploration pitch meetings. Going to a new planet's a big deal, so we're gonna open up the floor to some suggestions here. Yeah, go ahead. Well, I think we should travel billions of light years to an occupied planet and then kidnap one of the smart ones, preferably one that's alone in the woods. Then once it's on our spaceship, we hold it down and f*** it in the ass. Then we just let it go and see how it copes with being molested by aliens. For the last time, Kevin, we're not gonna rape the locals. Jesus, what the hell is wrong with this guy? You know, just food for thought. The Alien Blaster is back in Fallout 76, however, it's not the overpowered mini pistol we remember from the other games. It's definitely been nerfed for Appalachia, but don't let that deter you from seeking it out, because the process to acquire this bitch and the ammo that goes along with it is what some people would call a painful experience. First, you'll have to go to this location on the map just southwest of Philippi Battlefield Cemetery. There you'll find a gunky safe submerged in toxic water. You can then grab the Alien Blaster out of the safe and the crusty set of keys that are right next to it. You'll then notice that the Alien Blaster has no ammo to go with it, which is a major problem if you want to use the f***ing thing. Well, don't worry your hairy little nipples, because there's a whole convoluted process to get the ammo in case you thought this was gonna be easy. First, you'll have to go here to Freddy Fear's House of Scares and head up to the roof. There you'll find a locked door, which is opened by those crusty keys. Inside the room, just under the desk, there's a holotape. Once you have the holotape, then you're gonna want to travel to Morgantown's Shadow Breeze Apartments. Go all the way up to the top floor where you'll find a terminal. Then you'll start button mashing the shit out of that terminal until you feel completely satisfied that you've hit all the buttons. Next, you're going to want to head over to the Pleasant Valley cabins, where you'll find some angry turrets and yet another terminal in the bedroom. Now on that terminal, you're going to want to generate a key code. Be sure to memorize the key code or write it down. Give it to the autistic kid in Mercury Rising if it makes you feel good, and just have him read it back to you for all I care. Just make sure you know the numbers. Then go under the balcony just outside of the cabin. There you'll find a secret safe. Type in the code and it will give you a key to TNT number 2. Then you're going to want to go to the TNT Dome number 2 just southeast of Black Mountain Ordnance. In there you're going to find the ammunition to the alien blaster, and a plan to convert the alien blaster to fusion cells, which in turn will make it weaker than a baby's biceps. But hey, who knows, maybe you'll just like how pretty it looks when it shoots. Either way, not the most powerful weapon in Fallout 76 even with the alien ammunition, but it's still a super rare weapon and hard to acquire in the game. I rate this weapon 1 photo of the only acceptable reason to run around with a dirty asshole. At number 8, we've got the Paddleball. Now here we have the Paddleball weapon in Fallout 76. Now this weapon may not look like it's powerful, and that's because it isn't. It's a rubber ball attached to a wooden paddle. It's really not that threatening. But it is a super rare weapon in the game. Now if you're gonna actually use this weapon in the game, you're gonna wanna fully commit. You know, really own it with some confidence, okay? Because again, not very powerful. You can't just walk up to someone and smack them across the lips with a tiny rubber ball, because they're gonna f you up, okay? You have to convince them that their life's in danger before you even use it. That right there is the only effective way to use this weapon, just an FYI. Now this weapon does have some customization options to make it a little more threatening in the game, including 5 different types of balls to choose from. You got the bladed ball, which sounds kind of painful, the electrified ball, which sounds like my Saturday night, the fireball, which is a type of drink if I'm not mistaken, the spiked ball, which is just a little misunderstood I think, and the default rubber ball, which is self-explanatory. Now this isn't the best weapon in the game by any means. However, it's one of the rarest weapons as there's only one way to acquire it. You'll have to go to Camden Park and do the daily challenges there to unlock tokens. However, you can only unlock 6 to 9 tokens per day in real time. And this little bitch costs 50 tokens. So if my math serves me, that means it will take you 2 months to unlock this weapon in the game. However, I didn't wait the 2 months because I'm a naughty boy. I just asked Poseidon, Jegdog, Yo Mama, Texan D, Chubboy HD, Raptor Alpha, Snowforge, and John Maynard, and they all gave me some tokens. Thanks again, fellas. Thanks again. Now this is definitely an interesting weapon, but Bethesda might want to rethink a better way to get fuzzy tokens in the game, as just getting them through daily tasks is a little bit crazy, as 45 days of playing this game is a bit much to get a rubber ball on a string. Don't you think, Todd? Don't you think? You think 45 days a bit much? I rate this weapon 1 stranger, pretending to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Billy. I shall miss you. And your crooked bum crack.
At number 7, we've got the flare gun. Now here we have the flare gun, aka a Canadian bazooka, because we have strict gun laws here. You get it right, guys? It's less fun when I have to explain it, I think. Anyways, the flare gun is a break-action single-shot weapon in Fallout 76 that is designed for signaling as opposed to combat. Flare guns are not known for their ability to destroy things. No, they are not. They are known for saving incompetent tourists when they get lost on vacation because they think trails are for pussies. And it's best to shoot off a flare gun when you're lost in that type of circumstance because one of the other tourists might have had a light breakfast and it's just a matter of time before they start licking frogs and they go insane and resort to cannibalism. I should know. I've been there. Not my proudest moment. So in a way, flare guns are super important. However, firing a flare directly at an enemy will only cause a small amount of physical damage. However, there's no telling how much psychological damage it will cause. Probably lots, especially for the person firing the flare, as virtually every other weapon will yield better results in the heat of battle than a f***ing flare gun. Now the flare gun might not be the most explosive ejaculator in all of Fallout, but it is definitely a rare weapon in the game. It can rarely be found at the Red Rocket Megastop, or if you're lucky, it can sometimes be obtained from vendors. I rate this weapon 1 guy getting his first erection. Oh my god! It's happening! At number 6, we've got the Blackpowder blunderbuss. Now the Blackpowder blunderbuss is a percussion cap muzzleloader. Much like a flintlock pistol, the Blackpowder blunderbuss takes 50 caliber balls as ammunition. However, it has a widened barrel, which gives it a little more kablam! Now, if black-powder weapons were Pokemon, the black-powder pistol would be the first form, and the blunderbuss would be the evolved version. And then the dragon would be the final form. Because let's face it, it's got 4 f***ing barrels. Now this weapon doesn't look like much, but don't let that fool you, as it's one of the strongest pistols in the game. It's deceptive, just like masturbation. It starts off innocuous enough when you're young, then you get a little older and things seem a little less satisfying. And before you know it, one thing leads to another and you find yourself naked in a motel room with bungee cords around your ankles trying to suck your own salami. Point is, don't underestimate this weapon, folks. Don't underestimate it. Although it doesn't have any modifications, it's still very much a rare weapon in the game. One can sometimes be found within a small wooden building within Helvetia, just north of the church near a gazebo. And if you're lucky, this weapon can sometimes be found on Dead Scorched. However, it's very rare. So be sure to keep your eyeballs open at all times, even when you're sleeping. Especially when you're sleeping. I rate this weapon one guy playing chicken with a Chevy. Spoiler alert, the Chevy loses. At number 5, we've got the Qatar sword. This weapon is every rockstar's wet dream. I mean, it's formed like a guitar, but with 6 individual blades on the end of it. Yes, 6 of them. The Qatar sword is a combination of what appears to be a connection of many steel tubes that go down the sword's hilt, and also hillbilly folk art. The guitar itself seems to be made of a flimsy wooden body and broken dreams. I mean, it's a basic 6-string, although it has no fretboard or room in its life for love. It's misunderstood, and only through artful expression will it ever fully embody a resemblance of joy. Now, this weapon doesn't have any modifications, but that's okay, because I accept it for who it is. I don't need it to change, because I'm not a monster. Now, this weapon is very rare, but it can be found outside of the Pleasant Valley Ski Resort, or in an unmarked house on the top of the mountain east of Vault 76. It can also be given as a reward for completing the quest Signal Strength, and it can sometimes be purchased from vendors at the Pleasant Valley Station. However, this is very rare. I rate this weapon one horse that thinks it's a bird. I can fly! I'm doing it! I'm doing it! No false alarm! At number 4, we've got the Camden Whacker. Now there is a rare version of the Commie Whacker in Fallout 76. It's called the Camden Whacker. It's not really an improvement over the Commie Whacker, but it is rarer, so there's that. It is still a tiny styrofoam bat, so in terms of damage output, it runs somewhere between pathetic and get the kids, we're leaving. This is sort of like an embarrassing weapon to use. Could you imagine robbing a bank with this thing though? I mean, you'd have to be dressed like a clown for it to make any sense whatsoever. Alright, everybody down! Nobody look at my f***ing face! That's a children's toy, man. Oh, we got a tough guy, do we? Oh no! No, please, no! Oh dear God, not the Any other heroes? Would definitely set a precedent for most insane robbery ever, hands down, for sure. Now this weapon does have one customization, as you can add blades to it if you want to step it up a notch. Other than that, it's just a children's toy used to abuse plastic gophers. Now, if you want to acquire this toddler's Christmas present, then you'll have to get it by accumulating fuzzy tokens just like the Paddleball. And just like the Paddleball, this beast requires 50 fuzzy tokens. That's right, 50. 5-0. So that means you'll have to actively go out of your way on a daily basis to save up fuzzy tokens so that you can one day return and redeem this, the preteen equivalent of a lame hammer. However, again, I want to give another shout out to my boys for helping me out with them fuzzy tokens, as I would have threw my Xbox right out the f***ing window if I had to accumulate these fuzzy tokens naturally through daily challenges. So there's that. I rate this weapon one guy who got a bike stuck between his butt cheeks. I am never drinking again. At number 3, we've got the Crossbow. Here we have the Crossbow in Fallout 76. Yet another rare addition to this list. I know what you're thinking. This thing looks like it could bully all the other crossbows on planet Earth. And that's because it could. It really could. However, being bullied isn't funny, okay? Kids can be mean. I should know. I used to be bullied all the time in school. They would pull my hair, throw crayons in my eyes, kick me in the balls in front of my friends. Eventually, it got so bad I had to stop teaching, take up a whole new profession. Third graders are meaner than f***. Now, the crossbow in Fallout 76 is pretty sweet. It looks cool and it does a reasonable amount of damage to enemies to make it worth using, even as a higher level character. It's fun to use and kind of makes me feel like Daryl from The Walking Dead, which unequivocally makes me jizz in my shorts. Now, this weapon can sometimes be found outside of the Palace of the Winding Path on a table near the archery targets, along with several bolts. It may also be found in the outside building at Belching Betty near Bernie. And you could possibly find another one in a red open-topped shipping container between Mount Blair Train Yard and Welch. However, if you've been to all these locations and you're still having trouble locating a crossbow of your very own, the plan for the crossbow can be found on a table just outside of a southwestern cabin of the Pioneer Scout Camp with the crossbow shooting range, which is pretty neat. I rate this weapon 2 birds, just doing pull-ups.
Is this really necessary? I mean, we can fly.
Yeah, you're right. This. At number 2, we've got the Blade of Pizette. Now, the Blade of Pizette, aka a Chinese officer's sword with a different name, is a sword that is based on the iconic weapon of the same name used by the fictional hero, the Mistress of Mystery. Now, the Orders of Mysteries fabricated these recreations using historic swords, such as Grand Saber and the Sing Analyzer modification, after it has recorded the wielder's sword fighting stance and style. Now, this is just a fancy way of saying there's a giant process that goes into getting this rare weapon. And this whole backstory thing is supposed to make you forget that it just looks like any other Chinese officer sword. But guess what? It doesn't. Rare weapons should look different, Bethesda. Like what the f***? Anyways, the Blade of Pizette has a plus 50 armor penetration, but with the Eye of Ra also equipped, this increases it to 100% armor penetration. Needless to say, this sword will penetrate the fuck out of things, people. Now, crafting a Blade of Pizette requires a Blade of Pizette as one of the materials. Now, how crazy is that? It's like using the word in the definition. It's weird. Now, this also applies to the upgrade levels, each requiring a prior Blade of Pizette to make the improved version. Now, in order to get the first version, you'll have to do the quest Forging a Legend, which is one of the quests from the Orders of Mysteries. However, the whole mission is worth it if you're really into penetrating armors. I rate this weapon 1 person who has no idea how to fill up a gas tank. I don't get it. I spent $2,000 and I still only have a quarter tank of gas. And at number 1, we've got the PyroLizer. Now, just in case you were all curious, the PyroLizer is visually identical to the standard flamer in Fallout 76. However, it does reduce the victim's damage output by 20% for 3 seconds. So I'm sure that makes up for the fact that Bethesda didn't want to just make it a different color or something, in order to make it stand out as unique, at least the tiniest bit in the game. However, it is still a rare, unique weapon in the game, which gives it a higher value than other weapons in Fallout 76. However, the process to get this little unoriginal looking f***er is all but convenient. You'll have to do the side quest Tracking Unknown, which is a side quest that takes a little work to get started. First, you'll have to go to Harper's Ferry and go on the terminal at the North Gate. On there, you'll find an entry about missing persons. Now, this will prompt a little search circle just north of Valley Galleria. There you will find a very uninteresting gutsy robot that will moan on about finding some missing people. Now, just so we're clear, we already know that these people are dead, not missing, because there's no living NPCs in Fallout 76, but I just didn't have the heart to tell them, you know? Now, from there, the mission is actually pretty straightforward, and at the end of the quest, you guessed it, you'll be gifted the PyroLizer, which is actually pretty sweet. I just wish it looked even just a little different from all the other flamers in Fallout 76. Just tie a ribbon around it or something, f***. I rate this weapon 1 girl who got stuck trying to find Wonderland.
Hey, Mad Hatter, are you in there?
Thanks again for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to bitch slap that subscribe button like it's 3 weeks behind on your rent. Bitch! Where's the money, bitch? Where's the money? Where is it? Also, go ahead and hit that bell icon too, because apparently YouTube thought there should be extra steps. Why not, right?
I'd like to subscribe, but first I have to click this and this and do this. Oh, it needs an email. All right, and this. Okay. Just tell me when he's uploading.
Once you do all that, if you're lucky, at the stroke of midnight, a tiny little Averagebaters fairy might come and tickle your butthole. Now, I hope to see you all again next time, and remember to keep on average baiting, baby.